What's up, guys? It's your boy Brandon back with another episode of the BK Report. Today, we'll be talking about the Federal Reserve and how that plays into the overall economy. So, the main article that I will be talking about here is called, let me pull it up for a second. It's called Yellen Will Confront a Cooling Economic Recovery, Uncertain Stimulus Prospects. Okay, so, having already read this article a couple times, to sum it up, this article kind of talks about how Janet Yellen will become the new Treasury Secretary from the Joe Biden administration. He nominated her to become the Treasury Secretary. So if she becomes confirmed by the Senate, then it's going to have lasting impacts on the economy, on the stimulus package, and workers around the world. It seems like this is a huge package for many people living around the country. This seems like a great, fantastic, and spectacular move by the Biden administration to appoint this secretary to be Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. And she seems like she understands the ins and outs of the Fed, the Federal Reserve, the economy, and various other moving parts related to economic impact of financial policies, monetary policies, governmental reforms, especially during a key moment where the coronavirus is kind of impacting a lot of families around the world. And so I think she was also a former Federal Reserve chair, so she has the experience to take on this role and figure out what's going to happen next with the economic policy and the ideas within the administration. This article also talks about how many people in Congress, many congressmen are planning on passing a new stimulus bill, emergency aid bill for a lot of people, totaling $3.3 trillion, including one-time stimulus payments for households, enhanced jobless benefits, loans for small businesses, and vaccine research. The vaccine research is key here because the vaccine research will get us closer to a vaccine for the population, and that will sooner or later end the coronavirus, and COVID-19 can be defeated. That being said, lawmakers have been split over the bill and how much support the economy needs. Republicans think that it's going to hit businesses really hard and hit restaurants and airlines. They're more concerned with the budget deficits than anything else, and that's kind of that's actually a concern to be had, and it's a smart concern. Democrats have pushed for a $2.2 trillion measure that includes aid for state and local governments, jobless workers, and national virus testing strategy. So their stimulus packages are more aimed towards the people who are unemployed, dealing with welfare, dealing with poverty issues, and they're trying to create a national virus testing strategy to test people if they have the virus or not. And that's also a smart and intelligent move by the Democrats, and I commend them for thinking of a great way to spend their tax dollars, $2.2 trillion, on a program that can solve the national crisis by testing people, because testing is a really huge part of finding a vaccine as well. Miss Yellen has said that pulling back on spending too abruptly could lead to a slow recovery, like the one that followed the 2007-2008 recession, and so she claims that she's trying to keep interest rates lower, inflation lower, so that it's easier for people to borrow money from the banks, financial institutions, and the economy can remain at a healthy state, unlike it is now, where there's financial recessions, businesses are shutting down, there's no way for people to spend, and the economy isn't really moving at all. It's stuck in one place. So Miss Yellen, a little more info about her. She served as a Federal Reserve governor from 1994 to 1997, and she was president of the San Francisco Fed from 2004 to 2010, and she served as Fed vice chair from 2010 to 2014. President Obama picked her to lead the Fed from 2014 to 2018. So she's very experienced with helping to pull the economy out of the ditch, and she more than likely knows what's going to happen with the economy and how to maintain fiscal policies where many of the individuals of the state and the government and the private sector and the public sector included both can remain out of an economic hardship and turn that over to an economic prosperity by simply passing more legislation, doing more to help the small worker, and maintaining lower interest rates and keeping consistent with fiscal policies and monetary policies through managing the Federal Reserve interest rates. Because again, the banks actually borrow money from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve and the Treasury are separate entities, and the Treasury also borrows money from the Federal Reserve. So it's important to keep in mind on how the economy functions through the federal government too. There's more information on that, like through YouTube. You guys can find that out. But overall, that's kind of how it works. The Fed, that's kind of why we're in a debt. The United States is currently in a huge debt because of the Treasury and the Federal Reserve and how they interact with each other. So, and this isn't just like a one-time thing. Like several emergency lending facilities, like they mentioned that they're going to establish the Fed to help stop, credit markets and corruption, and fraudulent banks and predatory loans and stuff of that nature. So, so the Biden administration thinks that fiscal and monetary policy coordination could become even more important in an era where short-term interest rates are pinned near zero. And it's interesting to figure this out. When the Fed chairwoman has not been appointed yet, she has to be confirmed by the Senate after Mr. Biden is sworn in, and then this all gets settled. So it'll be interesting to see. She'll play a huge role in facilitating and strengthening relations with economic partners around the globe. Huge people, huge players in the economic sphere and the political sphere. The geopolitical landscape is changing for the better, in my opinion. So, Janet Yellen, I think, is a great choice still, and she'll continue to manage these Federal Reserve interest rates and make it easier for citizens to access financial wealth for starting businesses or funding educations or any other avenues that may require some kind of credit flow. But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to point out. This is a great new information from the Wall Street Journal. It's a great new piece from the Wall Street Journal. The reason why I kind of point out the Wall Street Journal more than any other website or news outlet is because the Wall Street Journal kind of is very trustworthy when it comes to their articles, and they keep it short and sweet, but at the same time they analyze every moving part of like the situation, and they don't actually have a bias on like whether or not this story is fact or fiction. And so it's much easier to discern whether or not this story is true. Usually their stories are very accurate and very poignant. So I do prefer reading those stories and presenting them because it gives me a better understanding, and hopefully it gives you guys better understandings too. And so basically, the Wall Street Journal is kind of what I turn to for political information as well as economic information when it comes to financial affairs and global affairs. However, I will turn to New York Times, for example, sometimes, occasionally. But I'll also turn to many places like, I'm trying to think of new news outlets. There are so many news outlets that are very notarized, that are unbiased, nonpartisan. I would look at CNN. CNN is a great place for news too. So there's just so many outlets. I'll get to them. For now, it's the Wall Street Journal though, and we're gonna stay on that path. So thank you all for watching and listening, and I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday, wonderful break. Peace. See you later.